as the criminal remains upon two legs, so long must there be some indentation, some abrasion, some trifling displacement which can be detected. Sherlock Holmes, in The Adventure of Black Peter by Arthur Conan Doyle. Edmond Locard was a pioneer in forensic science and director of the first crime lab in France at the beginning of the 20th century. Locard introduced the basic principle in forensic science now known as Locard's exchange principle. He believed that no matter where you go or what you do, you leave some trace of evidence behind and take some trace of evidence from your environment with you. Locard's principle is a key concept a tracker must keep in mind if he is to catch his quarry. The tracker must realize that wherever his quarry goes and whatever his quarry does, he will leave behind some trace of himself and take something along with him. Tea drinking demon, you didn't tell me what you're doing for Canada Day. You didn't tell me what you're doing if your family is doing something cool. I'm gonna poke your nose. Boop the snoot. There are many ways to track humans. Generally, the two most common non-technical methods are scent tracking and visual tracking. Scent tracking is usually associated with the use of tracking canines, which are trained to track their quarry by using their keen sense of smell. Visual tracking is typically associated with the human tracker, who tracks primarily by sight. The trained tracker identifies, interprets, and follows disturbances detected within the natural environment. These disturbances can be in the form of impressions left on the ground, altered vegetation, litter discarded by the quarry, and many others. Oh, maybe some fireworks tonight. Nice. That's nice. An individual who is trained. Okay, so they tell you what a tracker can do, which is kind of obvious. And emotional characteristics of a combat tracker. The better the tracker understands the enemy, his habits, traits, and tactics, as well as his motives and aspirations, the greater the tracker's tactical advantage over his enemy will be. When properly selected and trained, the tracker will be a much greater asset for gathering information, finding the enemy, or recovering lost or missing personnel than any piece of technology or hardware. This particular section is for leaders to tell them who to select and train to do combat tracking. So, a bunch of emotional type things. Using available light. Now there's pictures that I'll show you. When learning to track for the first time, it is important to understand how to use available light to the best advantage. Light is one of the most important requirements for effective tracking. In fact, light and shadow will determine whether the tracker is able to observe sign or not. Sign is like what's left behind. So here is a picture. I don't know if you can see the picture. Let me see if I can get it closer. That's still not close enough. Okay, you can just see the dots and not the words. So I will tell them to you. So this says 1800 hours. That's the time, and that's the sun on the west. At 1614. So when the sun is in the west, sign will be easier to see because there's shadows on it. When the sun is up above, so between 10 a.m. and 1400, sign will be more difficult to see. And in the morning between 0600 and 1000, sign will be easier to see. So it's important to understand that between 10 and 2, which I guess is easy to remember because that's where people used to put their hands when driving, even though now we don't do that anymore, but that's what people used to do. That breaks your wrist more likely, so it's better to put your hands in the bottom. But between 10 and 2, it's going to be more difficult to see the signs that you're looking for when you're tracking someone. As the sun rises, it casts long shadows that bring out the details of any impression made on the ground. As the sun climbs, these details will gradually fade. To best use available light, the tracker needs to be positioned so the tracks he's observing are between him and the light source. Facing in the direction of the sun will enhance the shadows, making the track details easier to see. So there's a picture of a guy with the tracks between him and the sun so that it's going to be easier to see them. As the sun begins, blah 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 blah. The tracker may have to move around the tracks to keep the track line between him and the sun the best angle for viewing. He must be careful though not to contaminate the track line as he moves. If the tracker is following impressions that run directly away from the sun, he may need to stand to the side of the track line and look back over his shoulder. That's kind of confusing. When the tracker is confronted with poor lighting conditions, such as underneath a dense forest canopy, he may be able to overcome the lack of natural light by using an artificial light source, a flashlight, for instance, or a signal mirror. He can then manipulate the light source to create the best angle to view the tracks. Hey there, Assassin Praxis. It's good to see you. All of you who are here, Onigato, Tea Drinking Demon, Arvantonialt, Assassin Praxis, the Streamlabs robot, all of you can put in a page number, and I'm going to read this in order, but we'll also hop around a little bit, and we'll learn a little bit. I got this at the local military, at the PX, not the PX, Clothing and Sales. Clothing and Sales at my particular military base has a lot of really cool books. I like them. I like to go there. Page 160, or 42 and 49. Awesome. So we'll hop around. That'll kind of be your personal attention. So, Onigoto, this one's for you. Page 164. It's a picture. So we'll trace it. Oh, they want to teach you the track lines. Okay, I was on page 7. So, let's put a bookmark in there. So this is a PT-76 Russian amphibious tank, and you can recognize its tread because its tread goes inward. See that? See that? Onigoto. Its tread goes inward. And it's got these gaps here, which you'll see. I don't know if you've ever had to clean out tank tread after being muddy. I did that with some of my soldiers one night on my deployment, and it took a very long time. You know, you like had to get your hands all the way up in here, all the way up, because everything like mud and sticks and grass, everything gets stuck up in there. The problem isn't just the mud. The problem is the area where we were, it was muddy, but it was really thick grass. So the tank would crush the grass down and then just get everything like tangled up in these treads. Just tangled and tangled up. All between every little thing. So you gotta like dig your hand in. My hands were small. So that really helped a little bit to just like get in there and like get stuff out. Doctors don't usually do that kind of thing, but I was a lot more hands-on with my unit than some. So that's dude, the commanders don't even do that. So that's a PT-76 amphibious Russian tank. On this side of the page, you will see the infantry combat vehicle. Now you'll notice it doesn't have the same indentations that are like this V shape. See this is like a V shape. I don't know if you can see. See how like this tank tread is kind of like a V shape. This tank tread is like this. And it's not going to have those circles on the outside. So you can kind of tell what kind of vehicle passed through there. So this is a BMP-1 infantry combat vehicle. This is a PT-76 amphibious tank. PT-76 and BMP-1. I guess the way I would remember it, infantry tends to be like thought of as like the simple core of the military, like very simple. step one, when you're putting together your very systematic plan for tracking people, assassin praxis, you need to be assessing the direction of travel first. The direction of travel. So that's what you think first, direction of travel. The second thing you are going to think about when you are tracking people is you are going to eliminate any alternate routes. So you want to look to other sides of the track line. Your tracks are not going to be this obvious. But you don't want to assume that because there's one more obvious track line, you don't want to assume that's the only way they went or that is the way they went. So you need to look and you need to eliminate alternate routes. So first you assess the direction of travel, then you eliminate alternate routes. And then we get to your page. Your page. And I have to come back to this side. It's hard for me to know what is in the camera picture. Can you see? Yes, you can see. Alright, so this is step 3, and again, you can't see any of the words, so I will explain the pictures to you. This is step 3. You need to connect the farthest sign back to you. You need to see what is the farthest one away from you. Visually connect the farthest sign back to your position. The tracker identifies the farthest sign made by the quarry and visually traces the track line back to its position. So instead of looking from here forward, you want to look and investigate from far way back to you. You want to start with the furthest away track you can see and put your eyes back to you. So connect the furthest sign back to you. Then step 4 is check for deception. Check for deception. The tracker searches around his position for signs that the quarry may have attempted a counter-tracking technique to conceal a change of direction. So you look around you. One thing people will do is circle around and double back so that they can get behind the people they know are following them. Sometimes they'll go back over the same tracks, so you need to look at the tracks near you for things like that, signs of deception, which they'll tell us about. Oh, assassin praxis, that's cool. I didn't know that. That makes a lot of sense. I have ridden a motorcycle before, but never driven one. The last time I rode a motorcycle was in a monsoon but he's reformed now. And at that time we were riding a motorcycle to go encourage a depressed guy. And we were trying to get him. We didn't end up making it that night. We had to go the next night because it became impossible to see. And it was like, we really tried though. We rode for like, I don't know, 40 minutes to try to get to this guy in the monster to help him out. So anyway, that's my last time I rode a motorcycle. Hi Grumpy Gabs, it's really good to see you. Pick a number, Grumpy Gabs. We are going numbers. We're learning about combat tracking today, which will be of interest to you since you like to think about bounty hunters, and in the story we're working on together it would probably be good to incorporate some like real life science into it, since that's what I do with all of my actual published science fiction. It always has some like real life science in it, so you might be interested in this book, combat tracking. Have fun getting your fish tank. Hey, hush hush. You also need to give me a number. Give me a number. Give me a number. Yeah, it's good to see everybody. Alright, Arv Antonio, it is your turn. Oh wait, we're not done. One last thing. So step 5 is patrol forward. The tracker continues to patrol towards the furthest sign identified while scanning and searching the terrain for signs of enemy. So, can anyone tell me what the 5 steps were? Were you paying attention? What were the 5 steps? They were: assess direction of travel, eliminate all alternate routes, look at the furthest sign away from you, so check for signs of deception, and then patrol forward. One more time. You check the trail line in front of you. I'm going to have to look. The first one. Oh, assess direction of travel. Assess direction of travel. Eliminate alternate routes. Connect further sign back to you. Check for deception. Patrol. Alright, let's hit up page 49. That is Arv Antonio's request. Ooh, this is good. This is movement formations. Team formations. A number of formation options are available to the lead tracking team in order to follow the quarry. The V formation, these are going to be good for tracing. Very well chosen, Arv Antonio. The V formation is used when the team is moving through open terrain. It offers the leader good control over his team and is flexible, allowing immediate fire in all directions. This formation also offers good all-around local security, particularly for the tracker, when the team leader serves as his cover man. This is the V formation. I'm going to, can you see? Can you see this V? This is tracker 1. Tracker on the right. This is tracker on the left. This is his forward shooter and his other forward shooter. So 2 forward shooters and 2 trackers. And of course, if you only have 1 tracker, this is a very, very good arrangement. Quiet tapping. Alright, and then the next formation is the Team Y formation. The Y formation is used in open terrain, is easy to control and flexible, allows immediate fire in all directions, and offers good all-around local security. It provides less security for the tracker, however, by not incorporating a cover man. I don't know why you would do the Y instead of the V then. Well, I'll show you a picture of it. It looks stupid to me. Oh, I guess because it's used open formation. Oh yeah, because it's harder to find. Yeah, okay, so I'll show you why. I learned about this in my not EFMB during my spur ride. Because I wasn't trained on a lot of the, because I'm a physician, so I was trained on physician stuff. So some of my, and then I've trained hand-to-hand combat, but that's because I sought it out. And then I've only qualified on like 1 weapon. So, I didn't know or understand some of the rules about like when you're shooting together on the ground, so that you don't shoot your own guy. And that's why this. Okay, so when they on for a very long time. Guy here, guy here. You can't see. Hold on. Now you can see. This way. Yeah. So, guy on each side of the road. So that's a modified wedge or a staggered column, because of course it can get very, very, very long. And that's how we do movements in like ruck marches and stuff like that, for example. But in this one, for tracking, you have the tracker in the front. So, those are the formations. There's a lot more formations, but that is up to page 59, like you had talked about. So, whose question is next? Whose number is next? Number. 34 and 24. Nice. 34, 24, and then 13. Denial, anger, bargaining, acceptance, and alcoholism. What is happening? Why are people talking about alcoholism? Fish. Nice. I like when you guys talk to each other. It makes me happy. Oh, you silly people. Okay. 34. Page 34. This is also a good one with a picture. This is a nice short one. This is a nice easy one. So these are base methods. Okay. Or these are, hold on, let me get my bearings here. Ooh, neat. Okay. This is estimating your quarry group size. Whenever possible, trackers must assess and reassess the number of quarry being pursued. I'm going to ask my husband to please close the door so that that bird isn't yelling. Dum. Let us. Hey, can you get Mango away from the bathroom and the bedroom and close the doors between me and her? She is yelling too loud. There we go. Alright. An accurate estimate will allow higher command to commit an adequate amount of resources to the operation. One of the best places, and have fun, Gabby, getting your take. To determine the size of the enemy is where the group conducted a rest halt or camped for the night. Carefully counting individual resting positions will give the tracker a good estimate of the group size. If the track line leads to a rest stop, take time to observe all sign to ensure that the location isn't also where the group has split up. If it appears that the enemy has split into smaller groups, the team leader may want to identify nearby villages. If the track line splits and appears to be going in several directions towards a populated area, the incident may have been conducted by locals who are now proceeding back to their respective villages. If the track line is heading towards a border or unpopulated area, the enemy could be a more organized element that is moving to a base camp or safe haven. Ooh. If the amount of sign discovered at the rest area is greater than the amount of sign that led you there, there's a possibility that more than one group may have been involved in the initial incident or operating in the area. To determine the size of a moving group, the tracker must first find a track trap. The tracker will then be able to determine or confirm the size of the group by using one of the following methods. The direct count method. The direct count method is used, so these are methods for figuring out the size of the group you're following, right? Just to resume. Resumen de lo que estamos leyendo. Just to kind of summarize what we've been reading, right? We are under get in touch with him? How do I get in touch with him? Maybe I'll send him an email. To Brian. Help now, please. Maybe it'll happen. Can you take Mango away? I've been trying to contact you. Mango is too loud. If you could close all the doors between me and her and put her out in the living room. Thank you. I love you. I think I sounded too panicked. He looked a little worried. I didn't intend to sound that panicked, but he looked concerned. It wasn't an emergency, it was just kind of an emergency. Alright, so this is the direct account method. I think we can, so, you can't, you probably can't see, can you see? This is such a good picture, but you probably can't see. No, you can't see. So, this boot over on the side is like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's clearly a boot. This is a combat boot. Very obviously a combat boot. Kind of similar to mine, like with a very heavy, it's got all kinds of different rugae in it. This one here is like almost like is much lighter, much thinner. It's got a totally different pattern. So basically each of these has a different pattern. So these are different people's shoes, right? They have different shoe patterns under the bottom of them. So that's the direct count method. You can tell there's 3 people there because there's this one shoe that's got these like treads just in a circle, this other shoe that looks like the bottom of my combat boot that's like very solid, and then this other shoe that like I can't tell if that's a sneaker or a combat boot, but it's got these like diamonds on the bottom of it. So that's the direct count method. The average pace method is used when a key print has been identified. A key print is one with a distinctive sole wear pattern and or features. The key print is usually made by the last person within a group and will be the clearest and most distinct footprint. The key print is usually made by the last person within a group and will be the clearest and most distinct footprint. Draw a line behind the first key print identified and another line at the very middle of the next print made by the same foot. Count all the prints between the 2 lines, including any that may fall on the lines themselves. Divide the number by 2. If the number counted is odd, always round up before dividing by 2. This will give you a good estimate of the number of people in the quarry group. Does that make sense? Let me explain it. Wrong side. Here we go. So, these white prints here are the key print. Okay. What they want you to do is look from one key print to another. So from here to here. It's the ones made by the same foot. It's not from here to one step. It's from here to the next time that foot came down. So from here to here. And then you count the ones in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4. its stride. So, same thing here. Can you see? Yeah. So same thing here. You start here, you measure out 48 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And you round up if the number's odd, so 14 divided by 2. This is 7 people. Very cool, huh? And then last, this is the one that was on your page, Josie, for the next time you are tracking human beings. The comparison method. The comparison method is used when a large group has walked in rough single file and the tracks have been superimposed on top of one another. You know, it'd be a fun RP. It's like a really, like, valley girl, like, really, like, effeminate valley girl, but talking about something like this. That would be really fun. Like, oh my gosh, so last time I was tracking human beings, like, it was just so frustrating because it was so hard to find, like, the key print. I thought I had a key print of this one group, but, like, that was just because there were a lot of people wearing similar shoes and stomping too flippin' hard. So, like, I had to, like, use the box method, and I was so annoyed when I finally found them that I shot them all. And then I got in trouble with my command, and then I got court-martialed, and now I'm here. That's a little extreme, but something like that I think would be a really, really funny RP. What do you think? Something like just really, like, subverting your expectations. That would be a really fun character. Alright, so the comparison method is used when a large group has walked in rough single file and the tracks have been superimposed on one another. That's because, you know, trying to hide tracks more or less. The only way the tracker can estimate the number within the group is to reproduce the amount of sign and compare both track lines side by side. Fun, nerdy fact. What people group in Star Wars always walks single file to hide their tracks? Like perfect single file to hide their numbers. What people group in Star Wars always walks in single file to hide their numbers? And how? Sand people, exactly. Sand people. That's right. That's very right. Assassin practice. Because you got that right, you're gonna get to pick another page number. Another page number. John ASMR, welcome. Are you the one who, I can't remember if you're the one who came here earlier and, like, brought a big raid? I don't remember. But you're welcome. So John ASMR, what we're doing is we're reading about combat tracking right now. And so as you come into the chat, go ahead and pick a number. And we will find you a combat tracking tip for the next time you have to track people. I'm laughing not because I don't think you can track people, but because it's just a little bit unusual ASMR topic, and I'm very proud of that. Extremely, extremely proud of that. I cipher is dog water. Same thing I just said to John ASMR. Go ahead and put a number in the chat. You come into the chat, you get a combat tracking tip. Right now we are finishing off Josie's tip. And then after that we're going to get to Gabby's tip, but we'll probably wait until she comes back. Probably wait until she comes back. Do, 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 do. 13. So yeah, Praxis, you get an extra number because you know your stuff. very important detail because that's how Obi-Wan knows that all the Jawas have been shot up by stormtroopers and not by sand people in A New Hope. Because sand people wouldn't come in so disorganized. Also, the funniest oxymoron of the Star Wars universe is introduced in that scene because he says that these blaster shots are too accurate for sand people. Only Imperial blasters are that accurate. And seeing the inaccuracy of how, like, a stormtrooper can't even shoot a person down a narrow hallway. Wow, sand people must be just, like, I guess with the way their eyes are, they just can't see. They're just, like, shooting way inaccurate. Anyway, it's not really an oxymoron, it's just funny. But, one of the things that's used to explain that is the idea that a lot of people who are in the Imperial Army are conscripts or people who, like, they're not really feeling it, like they have to do this because they're poor and they need money, and this is, you know, their whole planet is taken over by the Empire. This is the only way to help their families. So they don't really want to shoot the rebels, so they miss a little on purpose. And that makes sense. I like that story. And that story isn't too off of, like, things like in the American Revolution. A lot of the British soldiers and the German mercenaries really didn't care as much, right? Because they were away from their homes. This was their job. They were off here on a deployment. This wasn't like something that they, you know. So when the American Revolutionaries started using more Native American tactics or other tactics, it was very difficult for British soldiers to adjust because they weren't, like, in it to win it 100%, right? But the Americans started doing, like, kind of dirty things like fighting on Christmas Eve and stuff like that. That like was totally not something that a deployed soldier wants. A deployed soldier's like, yeah, I'm having my day off. But for the American revolutionaries, they were like, you know, we're gonna effing take this over, and I don't care how many Christmases I have to ruin, I'm gonna make it happen because that was important to them. So because it was on their turf, right? So there is some truth to, there's some truth to that concept, and I guess it could translate into Star Wars, that, like, bigger armies with conscript or, like, paid mercenaries or, like, just career soldiers sometimes aren't going to always have, like, the best caliber soldier, depending. On the other hand, you have other situations where, like, on average, an American soldier, from what I understand, is pretty much more accurate than an Iraqi soldier because of the training capabilities that are available to them. So it can go either way, and it depends on the story. And obviously the American soldiers are in that position of having the, you know, this isn't their home turf, this is their, you know, they don't want to be here necessarily, right? That whole kind of thing. So, yeah, it's always perspective. Whatever side you're on determines how you see the other guy's tactics, whether you see them as ingenious or you see them as evil. And whatever side you're on also determines, in some ways, how much you care. So, and it can affect your accuracy. That's why I have a bunch of leadership books here that talk about how morale is really, really important to winning wars. Because how much you feel this is necessary is going to translate to how successfully your training can be implemented. You know, so once single day, day in, day out. So I get kind of a very quick bird's eye view of what's going on, because soldiers talk, and they talk to their doctor sometimes more openly than they're going to talk to their command team, right? So you get to hear all the things that are going on in the unit and kind of put your pulse on it, and then you kind of hear what else is going on, and then you start to look at the local trends that you're seeing in your practice and compare them to national trends, and it's like, yeah, we no longer feel like we have a moral, unity, and so we're not, there's no drive to do well. And I think that is why our behavior at NTC, our performance at NTC tends to be pretty paltry on average, which is not a really good predictor for any other land where we have to fight. But of course that's not likely to happen. It's likely everything right now is going to be missiles in the Air Force, so I guess it's okay if the Army fails, because the Air Force is going to be the Air Force and the Marines are going to be what matters for wars from now on. I don't know. It's just, I don't mean to be dissing the Army. I think the Army has a lot of awesome things, and there's good and bad in every Army's history of every country, right? I just think right now there's kind of, the Army is kind of at a point where it's having, in some ways, a battle for its soul, kind of. And I think that affects your training, and that affects how well your soldiers perform. People are like, oh, they just have to suck it up, but it's like, why they're sucking it up matters a lot, and if they don't have a reason to suck it up, they won't suck it up for you, and you're going to have weak soldiers, because of how you as a leader failed to inspire them. Because no one's going to die for someone who wouldn't die for them back. All the great generals that people talk about in history, the thing that's impressive to people is that they led from the front. No one cares about the armchair generals, and now all we have is armchair generals. That's the only kind of general. I think Mattis was probably different. A lot of soldiers respect Mattis because of how his attitudes and perspectives were. But, yeah. I have so many opinions. Your dad said the same thing a few times. I don't care how many good Christmases I ruin. Plus, there's Stormtrooper Corps in the Imperial Army. Stormtroopers that don't come into contact with main characters or well-trained elite force. Sorry. Patton. I have a lot of respect for Patton. Although he was an asshole in some ways, he did not care a lot about mental health. But he's one of my favorites. He was one of my favorites. I liked a lot of the things he said. Him and Rommel both had a lot of interesting stuff to say. His leadership quotes are the ones that I most have. Alright, so the next person, we weren't finished with 34, and then we're going to get to John ASMR at 33. Alright, the comparison method is used when a large group has walked in rough single file and the tracks have been superimposed on top of one another. The only way a tracker can estimate the number within the group is to reproduce the amount of sign and compare both track lines side by side. Wow, that sucks. If possible, use an area next to a chorus sign that is approximately the same width. The team leader and the tracker will attempt to recreate the amount of sign by walking over the test area. One of the team members will count how many times it takes to recreate the same amount of sign as the quarry group. It's a good idea to add 5 if the count is over 30. That's right, because you'd rather overestimate the number of enemies than underestimate, right? So, did you understand what that meant? So what they meant is, they look at the amount of sign, they look and they see, okay, we can't use the box method, it's too messy, we can't see any key signs, we certainly can't identify any individual signs, so we're just going to stomp around in this area until it looks like this area, and we're going to count how many times it took us to do that. So you have one person walk over, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and you keep walking over until it looks like that. And then okay, that's roughly how many people there were. So there's, maybe 6 people. And then of course if you're up to 30, then you're going to add 5. That's a really cool way to counteract the walking in single file thing. Unless people walk in each other's footsteps. So that's page 34. And then, well, John ASMR, we just read page 33 actually for you. Right after you requested it. That's where we talked about the box method and the average pace method. These are really cool tracking methods. I like this book. Alright. And your dad said the same thing. Hi there, Suko Vision. You are welcome to drop a number. Assassin Praxis gets an extra number because he or she or it, but not they. I don't know, whatever. Answered correctly about Star Wars. Oh, cool. This was a good one that you chose. These are signals, and these are good signals to know for everything. We had to learn these. These signals were in. So there is a basic, like soldier handbook. That's like I can't remember the exact name, but it's like the combat regulations. It's like the basic soldier's manual. We had to learn it for EFMB. And this is in there. These are the same signs as are in there. So I can vouch for this, and that is, updated always. That is the official military. So, but these are some extra, they have some extra ones here. Using signals can mean the difference between getting compromised and not getting compromised. All hand and arm signals should be known and rehearsed by every member of the patrol. Some signals given here may be different from the standard signals, but they facilitate better communication between squad members. So I'm doing when you guys give me a page number and it like 66, and there's kind of a little section before it. I'm showing you the whole section so that this isn't useless. So you guys can do these signs with me. This one, can you see? Or do I need to move my head? You can see. Okay. This one says you are on track. So cupped palm hand with the palm facing down. Like that. And also you always use your right arm to signal. I don't know why, but you always do. Sorry, not your right arm. You always use the arm that's not like holding onto your gun. Yeah. So it is always your right arm. This guy is using his left arm, but like when you're carrying, yeah, like if I have my M4, I'm using my right arm to signal. It is your right arm. I don't know why he's doing his left. I guess it's because he's looking at you. But anyway, cupped hand with palm facing down, you're on the track. If you've lost the track, it's cupped hand with palm facing up. Like this guy. That's pretty easy to remember because it's like, what? I don't know. Maybe. So, this is maybe, right? You may have lost it, you may not have lost it. There could be a track here. There could be a sign here. Right? So, like that, right? Like that. Track, trap. I don't know what that means. But it's this. Fingers extending and touching, hand closing, so thumb and index finger touch. What is a track trap? We don't know what that is, but we haven't had a chance to read those. What is a track trap? Let's find out. A track trap. Page 139. Let's real quick find out what that is. Page 139. Oh, the ability to find and use track traps is critical. That's right, I remember this now. Examples of track traps within urban areas include edges of roads. Okay, a track trap is somewhere where if you walk, you are trapped and you're going to leave a track. Like if you walk through mud, that is a track trap. There is gonna be a track there because of that. So like, edges of roads are really good because you're transitioning from dirt to road. There's likely to be a track there. Areas that have gathered early morning dew along inclines and declines, these are track traps. So, that's cool. This is really cool urban tracking, this area. This was very useful for if you want to be Batman. we'll have to read that in a second. We will finish reading this first. Okay, so the symbol for a track trap is like you got it. You trapped it. Good is thumbs up, obviously. Not good is thumbs down. The direction of track line, you point this way, right? We don't point like this, like dummies. We point like this. A flanker crossover, arms extend at shoulder level, rotating inward and crossing over in front of the face. That's, you want your flankers, like in your V formation, you want them to move. Well, this is the other V formation if they're behind you, but arms extended at shoulder level, rotating inward and crossing over in front of the face. So you're telling these two people are gonna switch, right? Conduct a 360, that's this, right? Enemy, you point your weapon towards the enemy. What a simple, what a very intelligent sign. This is halt, right? With vehicles, it's different. There's different vehicle guiding signs. I never got certified on vehicle guiding, but there's different signs, slightly different signs for, like, with a vehicle, at least in my unit, we would do this to indicate, like, keep coming, and then there was different directions for, like, how you needed to turn your wheel if you're driving left or right. But on foot, this is stop, right? This, okay. Or sorry, not stop. Turn around, 360. You're not going to tell the truck to turn a 360 like this, right? So this is, we got to turn around. Halt, this one. I've forgotten a lot of these. Arm bent at the elbow. Listen, that's an obvious one. Freeze. And you'll see a lot of times stop being just this. People just use this. Danger area. Makes sense. Security. That's you want a group to pull security. When we say we want someone to pull security, it means we want, so for example, in the context that I learned this, it was in setting up a role 1. In the military, we have 4 really areas of medical care. The role 1 is like when the medic pulls you off the field, right into the back of the truck, and you're getting your medical care right there in the back of the truck. That's your role 1. Your role 2 is what I was director of, which is this large tent where you have more advanced medical care. You're still moving with the combat unit, but at a distance enough from the fighting line that it's safe. A role 3 is like when you medevac somebody out to a big hospital. So from my role 2, they would go out to a big hospital if they couldn't be taken care of here in this austere environment. And then the role 4 is like the huge center back in the United States, or Germany or somewhere else like that. That's like got, it's like a huge hospital that's got all the trauma centers and all the cool stuff. And so at your role 1, when you're setting up your role 1, as you're pulling into a combat area and your team is going out to do their fighting stuff, whenever you're securing an area, your role 1 or your role 2, you want some people to pull security. It is some people's job to sit around the perimeter of everybody on their belly with their weapon and watch, watch for enemy while everyone else is working on setting up camp. So that's what pulling security is. So if you're telling someone to pull security, this is how you're doing it according to this guy's system. I didn't see that sign in the actual combat manual that I was taught, but it makes sense. Patrol leader, so like if you're splitting the group up. Rest break, like you're breaking the stick. That's also not in the manual at all. Map check, that one is in the manual. And the last one, page 66, is dog tracker team, and that's definitely not in the soldier manual. These are all tracker specific signals, right? Alright, so let's see. I'm gonna quiz you now. Suko, did you give us a number? Oh, Mr. Higgles wore Peter Pan. Does what Peter Pan can do? Peter Pan. 360 knows sorry, it has to be up to page 258. Between 1 and 258. Yes, can someone tell me what is the sign for a track trap? We already read page 33. A track trap. A track trap. A track trap. Can you tell me what is the sign for a track trap? If you were paying attention, then you'll get an extra page. 147. Perfect. I will read 147 in just a moment. Can you tell me what is the sign for a track trap? Were you paying attention? Were you paying attention? Do you know the sign for a track trap? A track trap. Nobody knows. It was this one. Do you guys remember what a track trap is? A track trap. Anybody remember what a track trap is? A track trap is a place that traps tracks. So like a muddy transition from the side of the muddy road. Not anywhere that will leave a track, but anywhere that will cause you to leave a track later. So, for example, because you will remember Locard's law of exchange, right? Or sorry, Locard's law of exchange says there will always be some evidence somehow, right? There's always going to be evidence. But a track trap is where it's going to be a lot easier to see that evidence because there's a transition. So, for example, if you're crossing from a muddy place into the side of the road, it's very likely the person stepping from the mud onto the side of the road is going to leave a track, right? That's a track trap. That is a track trap. A track trap. Can somebody tell me what this sign is? Oh, there you go, Tea Drinking Demon. I think we're a little delayed. No, it's not Stuffy Nose. Dog Tracker Team. Dog Trapper Team. Not Nose. You guys are silly. You guys are silly. Alright. Tea Drinking Demon, you can go ahead and give me a second number. Because I think you had a delay. I know your internet isn't always the fastest. This is the sign for Victor in a hot way. Alright, page 147 for Mr. Higglesworth. Oh, you know what? This is in the urban tracking section that I really want to read. Oh no, this is the part about canine trapping. Gee. I will read the urban section in just a second. So this is about canine trapping teams. This is kind of cool. In our TC3 classes, we did learn about like how the dog handlers work for canine like combat units, and we did learn some like basic medical care of like emergency life-saving care for like these dogs, because these dogs are very expensive. They are like more valuable than some of our lives for how expensive they are, you know, to the army. So the army makes sure to take very good care of them. And so even like human doctors are taught some of the like basic life-saving stuff. Like I technically know where to put a chest tube in for a dog that's got a dropped lung. Technically, which is crazy. It's like down here. It's different than a person. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, and they're tracking the person who works with them, like their handler is like with them all the time and like knows them. It's like basically their battle buddies. It's really cool. It seems like a really cool job. I would like to be a dog buddy in the military. That would have been more fun, I think, than being a doctor. A scent tracking dog is trained to associate specific tracking commands with specific tracking tasks and the use of the tracking harness and lead with the requirement to track and find the quarry. It is also trained to identify a specific track scent, followed until completion of the pursuit, and discriminate the quarry's scent from other contaminating odors along the track line. A handler is trained to care and groom the dog, conduct kennel maintenance, motivate the dog to follow the quarry's scent trail, and read and interpret the dog's behavior while tracking the quarry. this is why you want to be careful not to contaminate areas. So, the use of a canine tracker team offers both advantages and disadvantages. Initially, a canine team may be able to acquire the quarry's track quicker than a visual tracker and speed up the exploitation of an incident site, and a canine team may be better able to track over terrain that doesn't capture visual sign well. A canine team can track better during hours of limited visibility than a visual tracker. Tracking conditions are better for the team at night because scent will cling to the ground and vegetation in a more concentrated state. Oh, that's neat. I didn't know that. So it's better for them at night. And depending on the handler's ability to read the dog may alert him that the enemy is near. As well, a canine team is less apt to lose a track when confronted with a contaminated area because it tracks by scent. Once the dog has developed its own scent picture, the enemy cannot be lost except during bad weather or if too much time has passed and the scent has dissipated. On the other hand, a canine tracker team's ability does deteriorate with different weather and climatic conditions. Heat will rapidly evaporate the scent, and strong winds will disperse it, possibly causing the canine team to track downward. That sucks. Heavy rains will wash the scent trail away. Hard, dry ground will not retain scent because it releases the fewest microbes. It is the most difficult terrain for a canine team to track on. The team may also have difficulty following a scent trail on dusty terrain, and strong odors made by other animals can distract the dog. Populated areas may also mask the quarry's scent. Another disadvantage is that the dog cannot communicate information collected regarding the track picture. The dog is only as good as its handler. Unless the handler is a trained visual tracker, the team will not be able to provide important information learned from the quarry's track picture. As well, the dog can have a bad day or not want to perform his duties. It will typically tire more quickly than a visual tracker. Following the quarry's scent trail is difficult. The level of effort required is so intense that most canine teams cannot follow a scent trail for longer than 20 to 30 minutes without resting for 10 to 20 minutes. Wow. That sucks. If a canine tracker team is incorporated along with the combat tracker team during the conduct of a combat tracking operation, it is imperative that both the squad and the canine team know how they will operate with one another. A variety of formations can be used. The extended line formation with a canine team attached is used when terrain is open and there's little or no vegetation to impede visibility. This formation also provides some security for the handler. When security permits, the extended line can speed up progress of the pursuit. A line, by the way, is this way. This way is a modified wedge or a file. This way, so a line is people are moving forward. The wedge formation with a canine team attached is flexible and easy to control, but provides very little frontal security for the dog or handler. And of course, modified wedge is this thing. Right? We looked at the pictures. Do you want to see the pictures again? I can't remember what page they were on. Page. Oh, I really like the section on comparing. That was really cool. Here we are. This was the section. Right, so this is a V formation. Right. That's the V formation. And this is the modified wedge, which, as I said, that's the only one that I've ever used. It's the staggered column, like that. Like that. So, the wedge formation with canine team attached is flexible and easy to control, but provides very little frontal security for the dog or handler, which I didn't actually show you. The wedge is the inverse V. It's this one. The extended line, like I said, is along like that. I figured you didn't need to see that because I could tell you. But the wedge formation is used when contact may be imminent. It is flexible and easy to control, but does not provide good security for the tracker. The tracker is here in the middle. And these are the guys, the shooty guys. So you can put your canine team in the middle for your wedge formation so everyone can follow him, but then your canine team is more exposed, right? The modified wedge and file formations with a canine also provide very little frontal security for the dog or handler. Oh, they have pictures of the dog situation. Here. This is the team extended line formation with the dog teams. The dog team is in the middle. Right. This is the team wedge formation with the dog team, and the dog team is in the middle. So you have the two trackers, and you have the dog team in the middle. And then over here, this is the team modified wedge formation with the dog tracker. So the dog team is up in the front with the other tracker, with the visual tracker. And then here is the team file formation, which is a straight line with the dog team. The only difference is that this is the straight lines, you know, that we're used to marching in. But the difference is your tracker is out to the side because they're the team leader, which a lot of times, like your NCO, when you're marching in a file like this, your NCO will march on the side here and yell commands. It's kind of like that, except they're up close to where the dog tracker is so that they can see they can see sign. And then here is squad column formation with a dog team. So there's a squad back here, and there's a squad up here. And when the dog tracker isn't working, they rotate back and they're protected by this formation here. And this is a squad line formation with the dog team. Of course, the dog team. Squad line formation provides maximum security and firepower to the front, but little security to the flanks. If the K9 team is following the scent trail, the rest of the combat tracker squad is prepared for likely contact with the enemy. The squad file formation has the same characteristics as the team file. If the K9 team is following a scent trail, the team is in the lead, while the team leader for the lead tracker team provides close and security. If the dog isn't working, it moves to the rear. So, like that. So that's the file formation, right? So what you use depends on your situation. Oh, this is interesting. Sorry, I started reading without you. This is about eliciting information from enemy combatants. The first few minutes of capture are usually the most informative. When questioning detained enemy personnel, the enemy subject will be confused and the tracker will be able to take advantage of the prisoner's anxiety before he can develop an adequate story. That's interesting. Alright, who's next? Page thing. Military dogs are the goodest dog. Page 58. Alright, so we'll do page 58. I don't think Victor's here. Usually if I don't do people's sexual requests, they get angry and leave. We had one person who asked me to put the microphone in somewhere that I wouldn't want to put it. And I spoke to them rather sternly. I was polite, but I was like, that's not appropriate. That's not the right way to behave. And they got really angry. But, I put up with a lot, and I want to be gentle and understanding with you guys. But also I have boundaries, and I have, I also need to be respected as a person as well. Because if I am not healthy and well taken care of mentally, how am I going to be able to help everybody else? I used to think that didn't matter at all, and because people take advantage of that. People are like, I have to take care of myself first before taking care of others, and you never really see them taking care of others. They're just always taking care of themselves. People use those kind of things as like excuses. I need to do some self-care. I can't possibly go volunteer at the homeless shelter. It's too triggering for me. Like, come on, bitch. So that, people do make excuses. But on the other hand, there's a truth to the fact that, like, this is a weapon, this is a tool. If you don't take care of it, you're not going to be able to help other people. And no, we're not going to put up with putting microphones in places they don't go. So yes, I spoke sternly, I was polite, but I was like, dude, that's not appropriate, and you know better than that. Your mother wouldn't approve of that. Then he got really angry and he left. Because it's true, I don't think his mom would want him telling random girls that kind of thing. It's rude. Microphones don't go in mac and cheese. Some people have the dumb. Yeah, it's true. The other stuff on Twitch in the ASMR category, that's why GB ASMR doesn't put herself in the ASMR category. She does just chatting. Which I think is rather telling. But I want, I figured that ASMR, like, I thought, and this may be wrong, right? All my favorite streamers are in the just chatting category. Well, that's not true. I like watching Donkey, and he's in the gaming category. But I thought that, like, because I have something different to offer, that'll help me grow faster. Because the difference is, like, I think I'm the only one I've seen doing, like, real green screen, like, RPs and stuff like that, like, with that kind of quality. So when I got a raid one time, like, of like 100 people were excited to see what I had to offer, because I had good, different scenes and cool sound quality and all kinds of different stuff. And I think people appreciate that. But I have contemplated moving to the just chatting category. It's just that some of you have found me because I'm on here on ASMR, so we'll see. Alright, page 58 from Tea Drinking Demon. Yes, they can track someone through desert, but as we saw, it's really difficult for canine teams to do that. But, that's what your visual tracker is for. I'm sorry Twitch isn't working for you, Nigoto. Oh my gosh. Wow. Alright, so next is page 53. In the desert, they can't remember your name. Was it 53 or 54? I got lost. 58, if you guys answer things correctly, also, there are chances for you to get extra pages. Extra pages for you. And of course, those of you who were here at the last stream, you should know that the stream boss is super cool, and if you kill it, your name gets to go up there. And that, oh, chat. Oh, chat. You always make me laugh. How do you delete your own comment? You don't. You can't. So, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, for those of you who haven't been here since last time, there's a lot of new stuff. So now, if you cheer or donate, if you drop bits or anything else like that, your little name pops up in the corner of the stream, and there's a little cute sound, and your words can be read out over my talking, so you can interrupt me. You can actually speak verbally if you donate more than 100 bits, or if you do a sub or a donation or something like that. New follows also get, noticed, which is cool. Yeah, which is pretty cool. And you can kill the boss, and then there's also stream games that you can play now in the chat, like Duel and Heist and other stuff like that. And there's new and see if you defeat the pirate bad guys. So, alright, so page 58. Oh, we went through page 58 already, my dear. Pick a different page, Josie. That was this one. You guys remember what this sign was? Do you remember? Blah, 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 blah. No, but this sign. That's a track trap. There's a track trap. Pick another one, my dear. Tea drinking demon. Tea drinking demon already has some good emotes. Wow, you have a lot. You guys have a lot. Track trap where the squad leader won't just shut up. Yes, I like it. 109. You guys are so much funnier than, yeah. Alright, 109. Ooh, nice. This is good. This is for deception. These are deception. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna read these. There's nothing that sharpens a man's senses so acutely as to know that bitter and determined enemies are in pursuit of him night and day. Frederick Russell Burnham from Scouting on Two Continents. Combat tracker units conducting a pursuit must realize that if the quarry is aware he is being hunted, he will most likely employ some kind of maneuver to counter the tracker. Counter-tracking techniques are used primarily to slow down, confuse, lose, or eliminate a tracker. Culture, religious affiliation, and the amount and quality of training the quarry received will determine how he reacts to the pressure of being hunted. It's important that the tracker identify when the quarry is attempting to use counter-tracking techniques and record and report the methods. Sharing this information with other teams will prevent them from being deceived and could save lives. The enemy who is conducting counter-tracking, and of course if you are trying to escape from someone, these are good things to know, will never attempt to walk on anything he can step over, cut what he can break naturally, break what he can bend, bend what he can move anything he can get through without moving it, step on soft ground when he can walk on something hard, create a definitive pattern of his intentions, or do anything needlessly. You guys get that? So don't walk on anything you could step over, don't cut what you could break naturally, don't break what you could bend, don't bend what you could move, don't move anything you can get through without moving. Don't step on soft ground when you can walk on something hard, don't create a definitive pattern or do anything needlessly. And of course on the opposite, if you're trying to be rescued and trying to be found, like say your plane went down somewhere, or you are, you got lost while you were hiking, you want to be making lots and lots of tracks, you want to be bending and breaking all the things so that people can find you. Counter-tracking techniques can be broken down into three basic categories: speed and distance, deception, and offensive. The speed and distance technique is when the quarry tries to move at a quicker pace than his pursuers. This is stupid. Yes, that's called running away. Although this technique may be effective for short distances, it usually creates problems for the quarry. In other words, people get tired. By moving more quickly, the quarry will create more sign, making the track line easier to follow. You think he will also make more noise, tire faster, and become psychologically stressed from pursuit. As a result, his total situation awareness will become degraded. If the quarry is a group, these problems will be worse, especially if one of the members is wounded or not able to keep up with the others. The quarry's use of this technique will ultimately be a tactical advantage for tracker units, assuming they can keep up momentum and pressure. TLDR. Running away. There you go. Running away. Okay, these are the more interesting ones. Deception. The combat tracker needs to have a full understanding of the types of deception an enemy might employ and be able to identify indicators of this deception without losing ground in a pursuit. The tracker should remember the quarry might use one or a combination of deception methods, walking backwards. This is normally employed where the ground is soft and footprints can be easily identified. backwards through the sand, and you can see, I don't know if you can see, but you can see a much deeper toe indent there as they move back. So they're actually going that way, even though it looks like they're going this way. And you can tell too because the sand is kind of kicked that way, which is the way they're actually going. Wow, so tricky. Camouflaging sign. The enemy may attempt to disguise his impressions by wrapping footwear with cloth or using soft-soled footwear that leaves less distinctive impressions that may appear older. The quarry may also switch footwear so that impressions have different tread patterns that could confuse pursuers. The enemy may also fabricate footwear that leaves impressions resembling wild animal sign. Trackers shouldn't be fooled by this method since most large animals have 4 legs. I feel like that's a challenge that makes me want to find a way to make something that seems 4-legged. The enemy may also use small sections of carpet to cross a trail or road, laying one piece and stepping on it, then laying down another and stepping on it, and so on. To detect this, a tracker should notice the outline impressions of the carpet or marks left by picking them up. Wow, that's hard. The enemy may sprinkle bird seed over tracks crossing a road in an attempt to attract wildlife that will contaminate the track line. However, the remnants of the bird seed will always remain. This is someone who, under their combat boots, they put sandals. See? And so the resulting impression is very soft and shallow. Wow, the carpet one, that seems like it'd be super difficult to detect. That's what I'm going to use when I'm running away from whoever I need to run away from. The enemy may attempt to camouflage. I did not actually just say on stream what I plan to use. I don't plan to use any of these. You don't know. You don't know what I'm going to do when I run away from all of you. The enemy may attempt to camouflage his sign and confuse or lose a tracker by entering a populated area. Also, I'm too tired to go away places because I'm sick all the time. So what's more likely to happen is I'm just going to sit in my place and like throw my axe at you. Don't come to me. Don't at me in real life. Don't track me down. I will throw my... I have a new knife. You guys want to see my new knife? Do you want to see my really awesome new knife? It's a kukri. It's beautiful. Let me show you. I got it for my birthday. Hold on, I'll finish reading Josie's selection and then I'll show you my super awesome new knife. Get those shoes where the tracks point in the opposite direction. I'm not Soviet. I hoard all my points. I love it. Backward track shoes. Walk up the river. Just ride a horse or a giant spider. Yeah, that's true. That would make a really big difference if you could ride a giant spider. Alright, I'll finish reading this and I'll show you my really beautiful new knife. The enemy may attempt to camouflage his sign and confuse or lose a tracker by entering a populated area or traveling along frequently used trails, paths, or roads. This method works best when the quarry knows the daily patterns of the local population. For example, he might travel in front of a cattle or goat herder who moves along a path at a certain time every day. To detect this deception, the tracker must be persistent and identify the jump-off point where he can then resume the pursuit. So you follow those messy hidden tracks for a while, and then what you're looking for is not the track itself, but where it leaves. Brushing out tracks still leaves activity indicators. So this is somebody who tried to brush out their tech tracks. They did a really bad job, though. I would do a better job. I'm not even going to show you their picture. The enemy will use this method when trying to conceal his movement in areas that capture good impressions. The tracker will often see this method used when the quarry has crossed a trail or road or moved up and down an embankment. When the quarry attempts to brush out his tracks, the sign the tracker was following will disappear, but the area that has been brushed will stand out from its surroundings. It can be identified by either the disturbance or its distinct color change. Walking along a log. The quarry may attempt on the log. You can't see my scuffs because I climbed, way back in the day, I climbed, one of the most bouldery climbs in Virginia, totally barefoot from the bottom of the mountain all the way up the top. Old Rag. I climbed Old Rag all by myself. Well, not all by myself. There were other people there. What do I mean all by myself? I don't even know what that means. Yeah, I walked on my own feet. I didn't need help. Someone to carry me. But it's an interesting climb because it requires a lot of like climbing over stuff. It's not like a very simple trail like Humpback Rock or some of the other really gentle trails there on the Appalachians. And I did the whole thing barefoot. My mom used to train us running in the woods and time us for exercise. That was like, so she would have us run through this whole area in the woods. And I would do that barefoot too. And I got really fast. At that time, when I was little, I was doing like 6-minute miles. When I was a teenager and my body changed, and then I was very slow. And I've been slow ever since because I became very solid. I'm not going to be running away from you. I'm going to be waiting and either freaking out because of the PTSD or being sane and killing you. Not going to be running away. I can't anymore. But yeah, I used to run barefoot through all these woods, and I would like jump over all these logs and stuff. It was so cool. I miss that. I miss being able to do stuff like that. It was really cool. I would like to get to where I feel light enough and comfortable enough to go barefoot everywhere again. The problem is that now my feet hurt for everything, like putting my feet on the carpet hurts, which is stupid. I used to walk on gravel and it did nothing to me and my tough little feet. But anyway, yeah, that's a technique that I would use walking along a log. So, there's a bunch of other ones, but we will stop there because we have read your page, Josie, page 109. I'm going to show you my knife and then we'll keep going. Hi there, Gwynplay. Gwynplay, choose a number. Choose a number and we will read that part of the combat tracking stuff. Oh sweet. I am gonna go get my new knife that I want to show you. Giant sticky foot lizards. Find a rock like SpongeBob. Gwynplay, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. It's okay that you missed the beginning. It will all be stored on VOD, right? This whole thing will be available to watch right here on Twitch for 14 days. And then you'll be able to hear all the cool, we've learned a lot of cool things, I think. We were reading just now about deception and ways to like hide your tracks. I'm going to read more in a second, but I really want to get my new knife and show it to you because it's cool. Give me a second. I have to figure out how to get out of here without displaying too much stuff I shouldn't display. Hello. I am back. Now I have to figure out how to sit down. Every little thing is so difficult. It did not used to be so difficult, every little thing. Okay, knife. Sit here. I'm also currently on my nidra, so I have to make adjustments. didn't fire. Oops. Oops. Goodbye. There we go. I really like the show Forged in Fire. And oh, I have to put this back in my ears so that you can hear me better. Happy birthday, Gwynplay. I also had one recently. Grinding out a starship in Space Engineers. That's rad. Gwynplay, happy birthday. We might share. Well, depending on when you're each one, we might not share one. Alright, so. Ooh, that's loud. This is my cookery, hand forged in Nepal. And it's beautiful. It's a little sticky in the sheath. I think this is a little bit harder than I would like. I guess leather, because it's not just leather, there's like some other material in there that keeps it very solid, but I think it's gonna become a little bit easier to pull out with use. I have a second sheath too that's a little bit softer. And although it doesn't slide better, they're both really snug, which makes me anxious because I don't want to pull it out hard and hurt myself. But look how pretty. That's really pretty. I need to it's super, super sharp. So my understanding from what I learned, I think on TV and reading, is that these are pretty much all-purpose for people in certain indigenous groups. So like these are like very common for women in certain indigenous groups to have for everything, for like farming, for chopping your food, for kind of, clearing things, kind of like a machete. It's less wield, it's easier to wield than a machete. It's got a nice curve to it that maximizes the impact right here of the thing you're trying to chop, which is why they're very popular in chopping competitions. And then, the Bowie knife has certain adjustments that are similar because of that, because it's nice to have that maximum impact right there. But this curve, this really strong spine, and you see it's got like really thick forged steel right there. This really, really strong spine really reinforces that whole area, so it's also a lot less likely to break. Can you identify there is a point where if this knife were to break, there is a stress point? Do you know where it is? Can you tell? Those of you who know about knives, there is a point. I don't know if you can say where that point would be. This particular knife. It's not a very, it would be very difficult to break, but yeah, exactly. Nice chopping blades. Gwen leveled up. Handmade is French for at $200 to the price. It makes a really big difference though. I really prefer handmade stuff. Yeah, the thinnest point right here. You're right, Mr. Egglesworth. Handmade sometimes makes a really big difference in quality. Like my husband's handmade ceramics are far superior to any ceramics I've seen at like I'm offended now if someone were to give me a mug, because the mugs that people have are so crappy. Obviously I'm not gonna like look a gift horse in the mouth, but I don't want your shit mug. My husband makes amazing, like beautiful, like they're beautiful quality, they're really solid, the shape is wonderful, you can like feel his soul in them. This morning when I wasn't feeling well, I was like, please bring me some of your cups, please. I wanted him to bring me the cups so that I could look at them and feel better. I love, love, love the stuff he makes. I like the sound of this. I don't know if you can hear. It makes a really good, like, This is really solid. I tested this out. This isn't going anywhere. It would be very difficult to break. And I'm certainly not trying. But it is incredibly sharp. Like, this is so thin. This is so, so thin. It was really nice of him to get this for me. And it's rosewood too, which is my favorite. And I like the tang. I think it's a through tang. Yeah, it is a through tang, which I also love. I like through tangs. What I mean by a through tang is the handle is made of one piece, and the knife blade is inserted into the handle. I'll show you on my ancestral knife from my dad. So I have a knife from my dad and a knife from my husband. So this is my ancestral knife, right? It's broken, which is why I can show you. So this is the hilt of the knife. This is the tang. So this is the part that's forged, right? And then the guy who, after he's finished forging it, he sticks it in here. And then in the case of this, he fastens it not just with glue, but with a pin. The pin of this has fallen out, and I need to replace the knife pin at some point because this is incredibly dangerous to use, obviously, in its current state. Did you just put it in upside down? No. It goes this way, which is really counterintuitive, but this is the way that it goes. Really pretty. I love the design on here. This is a Chinese blade, obtained by my Japanese grandfather during conflict with China. Which, as I've told you guys, is a reminder to me that all civilizations do bad and good, and it is our duty to repent of the bad our ancestors have done and do better than them while still honoring and appreciating the good. No period in history has been all bad or all good. There's no such thing as the good old days, and there's no such thing as progress. That is so anyway, this has the same thing, because another way you can make knife handles is you can take two pieces of wood and you fasten them, or two pieces of whatever, fasten them around the tang, right? And then you usually pin them together, and then there's like glue and adhesive. A through tang looks really elegant because it doesn't have that seam, and it's much more, it's going to be, more, it's going to be harder to break because that force isn't going to shatter, right? You have a circumferential way to distribute the force whenever you make a blow, right? The only thing I find a little uncomfortable about a kukri, and I have to kind of hold it, like remembering how I used to do martial arts is the only way I can hold it when I'm trying to like do stuff with it. I find it a little uncomfortable because I usually want to hold a knife kind of a little bit more like this, like stabilized, like if I want to cut something, like if I want to cut vegetables, which I did, I cut my carrots with this the other day. I want to stabilize like that, and that's not really how you do. This is like made for like big chopping, and so that's a little bit uncomfortable for me, but I'm getting used to it. I really like a Viking sax. That's another really beautiful chopper that I really like, that people use in competitions, and I like it because obviously it kind of fits my heritage. I have no heritage connection to the kukri, but the kukri is a much more elegant knife for some of the kind of settings in which I want to work, like the jungle. The question is going to be getting it back and forth from Paraguay and customs. It shouldn't be a problem. I should be able to put it in my bag and conceal it and get my stuff done. Machetes have never been problems, so this shouldn't be a problem. Nice and beautiful and get my work done. It's really, I love this knife. I'm saving it for Paraguay. So that's my birthday present from my husband. Do a video of casually cooking but just using extreme tools. Oh, that's a great idea. Send me half of your knives. Oh boy. Hi there, Zell Loves. I'm saying stuff you guys already know everything about. Gwen is like giving people lessons on kukri all up in. Point where to have the smallest point of the blade. Yeah, exactly. Point where to the smallest point in the blade, so pinpoint forward. If the tang is thin, probably the tang within the handle, it's often the break point in a bladed weapon. That's true too. Yeah, that's the actual. It's just that the way my and that's where it is for most of a blade, right? It's just that because this blade is like hollowed out, there's definitely going to be a weak point right here on the spine. So. And of course it's important that the blade is really well like forged together. There's no like seam cracks up at the edge. Everything I know about blades I learned from TV. maybe not. I love that. I love history too. Oh, Assassin Brex says you're in Texas. I hope you're in a good part of Texas. Gwen! Oh my gosh. Gwen, we do have to do that interview at some point. Oh my gosh, you have such cool stuff. Because I want to do one on like that, on like blades. I wanted to wait until I can get to Virginia because the place where my favorite Forged and Fire judge works, Ben Abbott, is really close to where my old stomping grounds were, and so I know how to get there, and they do free and reduced classes on bladesmithing for veterans, and I will hopefully be a veteran soon. If they'll let me out. I'm so useless right now. Which I'm probably gonna have to stop the stream pretty soon because I don't feel very good, but yeah. Anyway, that's really cool. At some point we're gonna talk, Gwen. We're gonna talk because that's really cool. I feel like the people who come to my channel are such cool people. Like we have people here in the chat, like multiple people who like do jiu-jitsu regularly. We've got like people who do different weapons. We've got people who know, like we've got some really, really smart people too. Like use these really philosophical terms and stuff like that. Just really like all different. Like we have a kind of cooler community than like anyone else. Everyone else's community is just babes. Not to be super offensive or anything, but come on, guys. This is the cool people. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you can't take some of your knives. Fresh from sex safety, have fun. Oh boy. So love, hey there. You had an operation the other day, and guess what? Guess what? It went well. Are you Austin? So loves. I hope so. I want to hear. At least it's for a nice purpose. I'd also be just a few minutes away from a gym with an instructor I've looked up to forever, which is awesome. Which is really, really cool. This is the weak point only in this kukri, though. Please don't learn things that are not true. Please don't learn from me because I don't know anything. I just happen to know that this particular knife, the way they took a big chunk here out of the metal here to decrease the weight, does make this point a little bit weaker. So obviously in where the actual tang is going to be. This is another interesting thing, is the hilt here. This part of the hilt is actually forged to the metal, and there's a small crack there, but that's kind of cool that they took the time to do that. Like, this is very solid because they did that. It's really cool. There's another name for this. Gwen, you probably know. I don't know what the name is for that when they do that. When they have the, instead of just having, you know, the blade and the tang, but they have this part of the hilt that's forged to it. I don't remember what that's called. But, you might. Gwen, you're not learning anything from me. Don't learn anything from me. Okay, I've never been in a blacksmith shop. I just started liking knives like last year. Okay, I've always liked them, but like big ones. So, I've always preferred small ones. Bye there, Assassin Praxis. Thank you for coming. And of course, you can always listen into the stream later. Zelloves, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm really, really glad that your surgery went okay. That's really, really good, dude. That's awesome. And if you are who I think you are from YouTube, I'm super, super happy to have you here, dude. And Cell Loves, go ahead and give me a page number, and I will read your combat tracking tip. It's a holiday. Oh yeah, it's the Canadian holiday. It's the beautiful Canadian holiday. Bye, Assassin. Everyone wants to be Suka. I don't understand what's happening. Dude, you are mad cool, Suko. Yeah, don't learn things from me. Yes, you can have page 44. The 4th of July. It's not the 4th of July today. Is it? I thought it was the 1st. I thought it was Canada Day. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Look, guys, we've knocked the boss down a little bit from like that follow. So that's good. Yes, Gwen, you can have page 44. Although we might already have read page 44. Let's find out. And Cell Loves, you gotta pick a page too. Let's find out. Page 44. We did not. This is where we talk about organization and tactics of the Combat Tracker Squad. Oh, we kind of did. This is kind of basic. Give me a different page number. This page number is kind of more theoretical and more like about teamwork, which we'll talk about another day. Give me another page. Gwen. Oh, Gwen Blythe, thank you so much. And Gwen Blythe, because you did that, 56, perfect. Because you did that, that's why the boss went down. When the boss goes down to 0, the person who kills the boss, their name kind of goes up there. Onigoto was the last person to kill the boss. So yeah, the goal is to kill the enemy as much as possible. This is a very violent stream, I'm so sorry. Do you find violence relaxing? Yes. Well then, come on down to Real Doctor Adventure ASMR. Oh, also your message should read out. Let me hear it. Oh shoot, did I miss it? I missed it. I didn't put my thing in it. I hope, dang it. You're able to read out a message. stream points you have. Everyone should have, a fair amount. And there's two kinds of stream points. One, there's the points that you can find by, yeah, that should work. One, there's the kind of points you get by typing exclamation point points, and those are the fairy dust sparkles that are used for dueling and heists. And then down below, under the chat, is the channel points, which you can use to buy stuff. And you get channel points by watching, interacting in chat, every time you comment. So, yeah, it's cool. And then, all your subscription levels also, by the way, now have new emotes and things with them. So, yeah. And because you gifted us up, of course, we're remaining within the tradition. Once the boss is killed, everybody's gonna get a free MP3 or some other gift when the boss is dead. Oh man, that's awesome that you do longbow too. You do such cool stuff. Why is it not letting you accept? I'm not sure why. Did I type your name wrong? I did type your name wrong, so you can't accept. Here we go. There we go. There we go. I'm canceling my previous duel. Things would be better if I didn't mess up. Just make sure to add the person you want to duel, and it'll do what it's supposed to do. Yeah, there's other cool stuff. It's pretty cool. It's bells and whistles. Took me like a very long time to set up. Took me so long. Where is? Oh, it's on a cooldown. It thinks I'm spamming because I did too many duels. Duel each other. Duel each other. I'm not allowed to duel anymore because I spammed my own chat. 56. We will read page 56. I feel like certain numbers are kind of popular. Yeah, we already read page 56. Page 44, just for your information, is just talking about how the team leader is responsible for everything the team does, and if it fails, it's on him. Give me a different number, Gwen. We did the hand and arm signals already. Oh no, what we can do is, since you chose this one, the other people in the chat can tell you what the hand signals are and see if they were paying attention. You could stick with 56. Okay, what is this hand signal? The cupped hand with the palm facing down. What's that? This one. What's this signal, guys? Do you remember? Obviously it's out like this, but this is a very small closet, so. What is this hand signal? Wow, the Twitch is lagging so much. That is crazy how much it's lagging. I wonder if I can catch up. There I am. Do you guys know what that signal is? What is this signal? You're on track. It's a cupped hand with the palm facing down. That means you can see the tracks. You're on the track. This means you've lost the track. You've lost the track. These are your hand signals that people don't hear you while you are tracking them. And then there could be a sign here. Is you're going from up to down, right? It means you could have tracks there. And of course, everyone likes this one. This is track trap. A track trap is a place where there's a transition such that when you walk through there, it's going to be really difficult not to leave a track, like mud. When you have mud going into a road, right? It's going to be really easy to pick up that mud and step in another place. That's a track trap. So this says there's a track trap nearby, so look out for it, and then you should be seeing tracks nearby. This is good. This is bad, obviously. You point in the direction of the track line like this. Do you There's so much cool stuff in this book. Alright, page 139 is where I wanted to read now. And so that's what we're going to read. Now it's my turn to choose. So I'm going to read, and then map check is Screaming Dora. That's funny. Yeah. Alright, so this is about urban tracking, which is cool. Conducting tracking operations in urban areas poses unique challenges, but in general, the times a tracker won't distance. This is unnecessary. This is unnecessary introduction. Here we go. Let's talk about interesting stuff. Some of this information that he puts in here is really extraneous. Like, here he has an entire paragraph on categorizing the 4 different kinds of urban areas into villages, strip areas, towns, and large cities. And I'm like, yes, I know the definition of a city. Thank you very much. I guess he just expects to have some really dumb readers. Indicators and track traps. This is what's interesting. When searching for indicators and locating enemy sign in urban areas, the ability to find and use track traps is critical. Examples of track traps within urban areas include edges of roads, like I mentioned, roadside curbs where dust and dirt collect. Here's a picture. This mud transferred from the mud onto the edge of the road. Oh, you can't see it. Why can't you see it? It just doesn't work over Twitch. It works on YouTube. Anyway, there's mud from the person's boot from the road from the mud onto the road. Alleyways are also track traps. Banks of streams, rivers, and culverts in and around gardens. Areas that have gathered early morning dew along inclines and declines, right? Because it's kind of difficult to modulate your pressure as you're going through there, so those places catch tracks really well. We talked about Foucault's principle, which is the forensic principle that says that anywhere you are going to leave something and take something. It's a law of equivalent exchange. So everywhere there is going to be evidence that a person was there. It's just a question of seeing it or not. A track trap is specifically a place where it's going to be easier to see because it's going to be harder for them to avoid leaving stuff. But everywhere technically is where you are. You leave tracks everywhere. You just don't always see them. Along inclines and declines, oil spots in parking areas are also a track trap. Soft tar, construction and other work sites, and drainage dishes. Oh, I didn't understand the morning dew one, but this is why. So in an urban area, morning dew will make your shoes wet, and you might leave tracks like down here in this picture that you can't really see. You can kind of see. You can kind of see a little bit right there. Little foot. Oil from a parking lot might be transferred to a parking block, right? Other track traps in urban areas are muddy areas, sports fields and children's play areas, dump sites, vacant lots, bicycle routes or trails, exercise routes, or routes, however you pronounce that, repaired roadways or other services, entrances to doorways and gates along fence lines and walls, of irrigated areas. Track traps are often further apart in urban environments than in rural ones. So we talked earlier about the formation when you're traveling and tracking somebody. Here they have a special formation for urban areas because of the likelihood of ambush. But I will show you. So here, instead of doing like a V, these 4 gentlemen, 2 of them are on the one side of the road and they're covering each other, right? This guy is pointing his weapon along this side so that he can look down that alleyway. This guy is pointing his weapon along this side, and these two-man teams, one guy is watching the back, one guy is watching the front, and they're watching the opposite side of the road. If it was just one person, each person would be like opposite side of the road, ideally, so that you can watch each other. Unless, of course, you need to be close because you need to enter a building. But yeah, so it's good to be able to watch each other's movement. And then you take turns moving. So like this team moves while this one watches, and then the other team moves while the other one watches. You somebody. In an urban environment, the same principles of tracking apply as in a rural environment. What changes is that the combat tracker squad will have to be more creative and demonstrate more initiative because of the complexity of the environment. The squad will most likely have to cover long distances over paved or concrete surfaces and search a multitude of possible directions. Older villages and towns with poorly maintained infrastructures will provide more opportunities for locating jack traps than more modern and developed cities. Once a direction of travel has been determined, the tracker team breaks down into smaller elements, and moves forward along roads and intersecting alleyways, searching for jack traps along the avenues likely used by the enemy. When the squad is faced with one or more options as to the enemy's direction, a minimum 2 men, 1 tracker and 1 cover man, team searches for one of the possible directions. When the sign is reacquired, the rest of the team is notified and the search process resumes. Using a leapfrog technique, moving from jack trap to jack trap, the squad is able to cover ground more quickly. So you see, like, the first team is looking for a jack trap. They don't see one. That they're ahead, so then they pause, and then the next team moves forward to the tracks that they see. And then the next one moves forward, so they take turns moving in the direction of travel. Tracking techniques in an urban environment differ in some cases from those used in a rural setting because the trackers must make bold bounds to check possible track traps. As illustrated, 2-man teams bound, covering each other's movement as they search. When one team finds the enemy's sign, it communicates the information back, so the rest of the squad and the support group can continue to follow. If the enemy's sign leads to a building, the trackers notify their squad leader, who in turn notifies the support group, which is more capable of conducting a cordon in search of the building and surrounding area. Because tracker teams are just supposed to find stuff. They're not the ones that are, like, breaking in and raiding places. This is the Combat Tracking Guide by John D. Hurt, who is a retired U.S. Army Special Forces soldier who was awarded the Bronze Star. He is president and chief instructor at Tier Group and lives in Lafayette, Louisiana. And excuse me. He managed and oversaw the conduct and resourcing of the Army's Combat Tracker course and instructed many U.S. and foreign military students in combat tracker techniques. That's pretty cool. And that's probably why this book has so much stuff in it that's like obvious, because he's used to writing. He's used to writing for a very broad audience that includes 17-year-olds and 19-year-olds who have trouble paying attention and don't know very basic things like what is a city. Very broad audience. Cool stuff. This was my favorite thing, was the thing we did on page 31. Let me read a little bit more from the main area. I'm just a little tired. I don't feel super good. But, so I don't think we'll do Chinese acupuncture names today. We'll have to do that next time. But let me read you guys some of the basic tracking indicator things. Just finding stuff to look for. So a conclusive sign is where it's like very obvious evidence, like of a boot, a footprint, something like that. But that's not very common. A lot of the stuff you'll see will be inconclusive signs, like trampled grass or vegetation, but that can still be helpful. So regularity is a regular pattern that might be straight lines or geometrical shapes pressed into the earth's surface. So what you're looking for is regularity, things that are not typically found in nature. Nature will look to the human eye a little more disorganized and less patterned. So this isn't a full beautiful footprint, but you can tell that there's some regularity, there's something going on. You can't see, but you can see a little bit, right? You can see there's some kind of pattern. If you can't see a pattern at all, you can look for flattening. Flattening is something else to look for. And this is cool. If the ground is isn't sure if observed flattening could have been caused by the quarry, the tracker should test the ground next to the questionable sign by trying to flatten the ground in a similar manner. If the impressions do not look alike, the tracker can rule out that the flat spot was made by the quarry. Isn't that cool? Transfer and transference is something else you look for, and that has a lot to do with our traps, right? So, like, for example, if wet stuff has been brought somewhere onto a dry area, well, you know something brought it there. Color change is a big one, and the picture is really hard to see even for me, but there is a color change here. It's a difference in color or texture from the natural color of the surrounding area. And in the particular picture they have, which you're not going to be able to see at all, there is a line of grass that is like lighter in color, and that's because it's been traversed. Disturbance is another one. The passage of the quarry often causes an alteration, rearrangement, or movement of objects from their usual position in the natural state. This one was hard to see, but it's really cool if you do see it. You can tell that rock has been moved because there's like that wet spot. Oh, you can see. That dark wet spot is where the rock was. That dark wet spot. And then this is where the rock is. Down here. Down here. And so that's odd. So that means it's been moved, right? So that's disturbance. And then of course litter. Litter is really stupid for your quarry to be leaving behind. Obviously you're going to look for other things like footprints, vehicular tracking, boot scuffs, turned over dead leaves, which will show a darker color after being disturbed, broken cobwebs, crushed twigs or leaves on the ground, trampled grass pointing in the direction they traveled, morning dew rubbed off by the quarry's passage. You gotta really have a good eye for that. Bruised vegetation, scuffed or scraped tree roots, disturbed insect life on the ground. That's a great one. Disturbed grass, leaves, or ground vegetation, mud, soil, sand, or water transferred from footwear onto another medium, kicked or turned over, embedded material, fallen twigs or broken branches, stones or rocks on the sides of hills moved slightly or rolled away after being stepped on, stones on a loose or soft surface pressed into the ground, or holes where stones have been pushed below the surface, moss scraped off stones or rocks by a boot or hand, or footprints on stream banks or in shallow water, or mud stirred up and discolored water, rocks that have been splashed with water, disturbed mud or grass or other vegetation at the edge of waterways. Aerial indicators are found above ankle height, so you might see, broken cobwebs, tall grass that's in unnatural positions, tunnels through vegetation made low to the ground, marks on the sides of logs, scuffs on logs was another one we read about earlier, cut or broken vegetation, the green leaves of bushes pushed aside and twisted, showing the undersides, which will usually be lighter than the tops. And of course litter is an obvious one. Blood indicators. This is interesting. Arterial blood is highly oxygenated and bright red in color. I read this before. I love this. Interesting. Such blood spurts from the wound at regular intervals. Arterial blood sign associated with quarry shows that a life-threatening wound was inflicted. Even if properly treated immediately, the quarry will most likely weaken if on the run and need to rest. Often he will likely die without advanced medical trail. So if you see spurts, regular spurts, venous blood leaks from a wound in a generally constant manner, resulting in a dark red trail of drops. Usually this type of wound is not life-threatening, and the wounded quarry would still be able to move long distances. If the wound is untreated, however, the quarry may slow down over time because of blood loss. Wounds to the lungs often result in a pink, frothy blood trail, often accompanied by phlegm clots. The movement of a quarry so wounded would be limited, and he would require assistance from others. Abdominal wounds may show blood mixed with digestive fluids that gives off an odor and is light in color. And severe head injuries usually result in heavy, slimy, glutinous blood deposits. Remember that all blood sign is affected by air, sun, and time. Its color will change. It becomes dark brown or rust color as the moisture from the blood evaporates. The tracker must be extra cautious when following a blood trail. If a wounded enemy faces imminent death, he may set an ambush and attempt to take out as many of his pursuers as possible before he dies. And of course, there's other bodily discharges you can look for, like spit can tell you if the quarry chews or dips tobacco, or was eating sunflower or pumpkin seeds, or if they brush their teeth in a particular spot. Mucus could tell you they have a cold or allergy. Vomit obviously tells you stuff. Urine, by the color, smell, or amount, may indicate whether they're hydrated or dehydrated. There's other stuff you can tell too, like whether or not they have maple syrup urine disease or diabetes, but he doesn't know that. Typically, someone who is dehydrated will have darker color urine, obviously, and it also smells stronger. The amount of urine also provides cues. The placement of the urine stain, together with the placement of the quarry's foot impressions, can also indicate whether the quarry is male or female. Usually, men will stand while urinating in a field environment, while women squat in a field environment. Because otherwise we'll pee on our own pants, so that's why. Feces can provide information about the quarry's diet, whether the quarry is local to the area or not, and if he or she is sick or healthy. Animal indicators, of course, signs that local wildlife has been disturbed can also indicate a quarry's presence or passing. A lot of interesting stuff. Yeah, cool stuff. A lot of cool stuff. I just got the joke. I was trying to figure it out. I'm so sorry, but I must go. Thank you all for tuning in. I cannot give official medical advice for diagnosis or treatment of any illness, as you know. Supervision. I would not advise that you taste things. Suko, what's up? What's up, Suko? Dear Suko. I hope you're doing okay today. You didn't even notice it. This disgusting frog in my throat sound when I whisper. There's actually a real life trick to that. So two things. Gentle whispering actually puts cotton in her mouth before she, or during, like she'll stop filming